Stefano Domenicali thinks there's nothing wrong with F1. Qualifying is about to get slower again, and we are out on inters. Quacke, it's been a while. Have you been enjoying the lack of F1 or are you missing the racing?
Ooh. I think we've had a good amount of news anyway. Like we've had a good amount, a good news cycle, even if there's no race. Uh, but most of it's been bad news. I think mostly mostly I've had a negative F1 experience in the break we've had so far. I'm excited to come back, which is next weekend.
Yeah. So speaking of negative experiences, let's just jump into the big topic then. F1 has announced a set of rule changes, or how I like to call it, a hotfix to their messy game.
Yep.
The recharge limit in qualifying is down to 7 megajoules. The
Mm-hmm.
super clipping is up from 250 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts, and boost power in races will be limited as well to avoid something like the Bearman crash. And on top of that, all the slow starts we've been seeing so far should have a bit of a fix with the MGU that can now get bogged down cars up to speed a little bit faster. What do you make of the changes?
I mean, I can't say that I understand all of it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a very small change. We should have less super clipping. That's nice, but I don't think.
Yeah.
But then the recharge limit. Okay, so what is it? Why are they decreasing the recharge limit? Doesn't that just mean that we'll be
Yeah.
recharging
So
more?
the way it works is that over an entire lap, you have a set limit. So you can't exceed more than 8 megajoules previously in the course of an entire lap. So if they reduce that, you literally can't recharge as much. Your battery is capped at 80% throughout the whole lap essentially. So
Okay.
what they are hoping it does is that since the drivers will have to recharge less, they can be at full throttle a lot more. Even if that full throttle won't be as powerful since there's overall less energy in the car. So the lap time will get slower, but you won't see as much of a drop off when the electric power comes off.
Okay.
Essentially, to me, it looks like a cosmetic change.
Yeah, yeah. It's like masking. It's masking the lack of power
Yeah,
by basically giving it less
yeah,
importance, I
exactly.
guess. But then also super clipping is up, so we'll be clipping less. That means we're spending more.
And
And
that
okay,
one
yeah.
should
So
be across the race as well.
yeah, okay, okay. So we'll be recharging more, but in smaller amounts. No, no, never mind. We'll be smalling less. We'll be recharging. We'll be slower, but we'll be recharging less, and we'll be clipping less. And the
Yeah.
boost will be smaller. So we're just it. The solution is just we're going slower.
Yeah, essentially the 50-50 engine power and battery power paradigm that was the reason for the entire change is now moving closer to like a 60-40, maybe even more.
Okay, okay, yeah. I mean, look, okay. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I think across regulations, yeah, the cars will be very different. Like it's been, we've had like the pre 2022 cars were obviously much quicker than the 2022 cars, and because they're different size and different weights and different whatever. Um, so that's gonna happen, and that's fine. This is kind of just that again, but it does feel like we just have an objectively worse Formula One car now compared to what we had before. I don't know.
Yeah, this does
Yeah.
feel like, to me, it feels like applying lipstick to a pig. Like, what is the point of F1 if you are making the cars go even slower than before? Because not because it's a safety concern, because we just can't produce enough power. Like that should
Yeah.
have been the first thing you research when you come up with these regulations in the first place, right?
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel good that we have to go slower to fix these issues. That makes me feel like there is something wrong with it with F1.
Yeah. You were someone who was like somewhat positive on the regulations as a whole because of the
Yeah.
good racing. Do you think this can help fix some of the woes in qualifying that we were having? Like it
Maybe.
won't be as fast of a lap time, but we won't see the problem as much, I guess.
Maybe. Yeah. In that sense, yeah, maybe. But I'm still. What I was positive about in the race is now also kind of worse. I think we'll have less of this
Mhm.
energy back and forth that we had before. Um. Now. because the boost is smaller and you clip less, and like the importance of the energy is smaller. Basically, like the importance of the energy part of it all is smaller. That means we have less effects from that, which is like the small part that I was kind of positive about, and the stuff that we did enjoy in the first couple of races where we had this nice back and forth where like the Ferrari cars could fight with the Mercedes cars because they recharged in a different way, and eventually the better strategy won out. That stuff feels like it's now going to be gone, which is a little bit. Why I don't know. I think qualifying laps are going to be a bit more fun to watch, even if they are slower, which I guess is what matters in the end. Like, we are all fucking idiots, and we can't see how quick a lap is anyway. It's like, then so yeah, that's good. I guess that it fixes that problem. But I do feel like we'll have most likely in the next couple of tracks. I feel like with this change, we'll have more boring races and more boring parts of races, and that's not super fun in my opinion.
Yeah, that could definitely be something to keep an eye out. If the racing goes down in quality, that will just be the end of this regulation, because that's the only thing propping it up right now. The one good change that I did see out of the regulations is the change that the MGU can now help bog down cars get up to speed at the start. We saw a number of slow starts from the line. Some cars were absolutely stalling on the line, especially the Colapinto stall the Colapinto Dodge back at Melbourne was a big one. Uh, the exact mechanism of it isn't perfect yet. They will be testing it out in Miami, but essentially how it should work in my head is that originally the MGU's power was coming in after you were already at 50k mph, right? Now it should have some measure of, okay, a car should start in this amount of time. If it hasn't gotten off the line properly in that time, we can give it the MGU without having it be overpowered. But there were some critics who were concerned that a crafty enough team could use it to essentially fake a stall and then get the electric power right off the line. Do you think that's a real concern, or does just a basic time filter or something like that be able to solve that problem?
No, I think that's a pretty good solution, because that's basically like, okay, if you've stalled, then it's kind of like that thing that you sort of get taught, which is what, like, if you run out of gas in your car, you can like drive a couple of meters on the starter engine, like just like get off the road. So, but in a greater scale, you can keep the car rolling, which means that the car might actually like start, like the engine might go out of stall, like stop stalling and actually start driving again. I don't know, like the start is still screwed up, but I guess it's a safety measure more than anything else, because you won't have a car standing still. So that's pretty, I think that could work. I think that might actually be a good solution, and you won't have any abuse either, because it's basically checking if you're not moving. That's when the MGU or like if you're not moving enough, then that's when the MGU will come into effect. So that's good. You won't have any like abuse, and you won't have you could just have it enabled for everybody, I guess, but like all the time. But then, of course, the energy would be kind of screwed up. So, yeah, I don't mind it. I like this.
Okay. Yeah, we are in agreement on that. But what we might not be in agreement with is Stefano Domenicali's claim that F1 has no problems at all. Obviously, as the boss of F1, he has to put a positive spin on everything out there. But this was immediately after F1 released their batch of updates to the regulations right now. What he said was that the stadiums are sold out and most fans don't care about the 4 megajoule versus 8 megajoule difference or whatever else that we are discussing here. Do you agree with him? Is F1 in a good state right now, or is there a real chance that a lot of fans might just walk away because of everything that's going on?
Oh, I think it's like the idea that like everybody's gonna leave and everybody's gonna stop watching, I think is slightly overblown. I think we still have an interesting season. I think we still have interesting racing we've had so far. I think we still have an interesting season to come. Even if the championship battle is not perfect, it's still a lot of stuff around F1 is still very exciting. We still have exciting drivers, and there's still a novelty with these new cars as well. Like, there's a lot of reasons to keep watching, even if the actual driving isn't one. And that's always been the case with F1, because like a lot of motorsport, the racing itself is often quite boring. That's a lot of the time, that's not why you watch F1, especially now when we have so much content going on around. You do kind of treat it more like a soap opera, and the racing is set dressing more so than you're actually watching for the racing. Like a lot of the time, it's not
Yeah.
like my F1 interest isn't just that I like watching the cars go around. I like that part. I think it's fun to see the racing, but that's not everything that I'm interested in when it comes to F1. So, did he actually verbatim say no problems, or did he just say?
I think I can get the quote for you as well.
If he said no problems, then no, he's wrong. If he said that,
Yeah, the quote on the race's website right after the interview is F1 has no problems.
yeah, then he's wrong. He's flat out wrong. There's obviously problems. There's obviously problems that should be fixed, which
Yeah.
I'm sure he is aware of. I think honestly, maybe he just doesn't give a fuck though. Like maybe it's kind of like no, but it's this boring kind of like businessman who owns a sports business. Well, they care about the results. It's the kind of people who think that it doesn't matter that Tottenham finished at the bottom of the Prem and are going to get relegated to the Championship because they're still selling tickets, they're still selling merch, they're still selling all of this stuff. It's that kind of thing. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like he doesn't. He might just be blind to the problems. He might just be like, well, you know, as long as it pays, then we're doing good. If as long as the number go up, then things are good.
I mean,
Maybe,
number
but
is certainly going up. Drive to Survive is going on. The F1 movie won a couple of Oscars. There's a second F1 movie coming as well.
yeah,
So the numbers are still going up, right?
yeah, the numbers going up. So in that sense, yeah, it's. I think for me, it's a matter of in time. If the racing does become shit, then in time you might have effects that are very difficult to recover from. Like, let's say we have 4 or 5 straight
Yeah.
seasons that end up having little to no fixes to the problems and just bad racing, outright bad racing all the time, and boring seasons, and people stop watching the races, and it's hard to generate exciting content around them. Let's say some of the really exciting drivers actually leave, like
Yeah.
I'm sure we have this as a. I'm sure this is somewhere in the
We do.
notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've all heard about Max, and I think there's like there's bad feelings in a lot of other drivers' camps as well. If they start leaving, if we start losing the personalities, then in the long term, then yes, we might be screwed, and it might take years to come back. So I hope this is only a thing. I hope they're aware of the fact that no, this has to be better next year. This year we're fine, and the number will still go up, and I will still be watching in 2027 no matter what happens. And a lot of fans probably feel the same way. But if it like from then, like I would start to be upset if it ends up being like, you know, we have 4 straight seasons and nothing changes, then I'm gonna be like, then nah, I was hoping for more. So yeah. I hope so. He's wrong that there's no problems. There are problems. F1 is in a good state.
Exactly, yeah.
F1 is in a good state, but there are problems.
Yeah. That was my takeaway as well. Like, if you just label it as F1 has no problems, that's essentially you hiding under your bed while the entire world is falling apart.
Yeah.
And that really isn't a healthy mindset for the boss of F1. I hope that his face in the internal meetings is a lot different from what he's portraying outside.
Yeah.
What he did say was that the next regulation cycle, which is still stated for 2031, will likely be a different direction for the power unit side. Manufacturers will not be able to push as much for a direction like the hybrid 50-50 split, and instead focus will be on cost cutting for the PUs. So that probably means no hybrid, classic, normally aspirated, or maybe a turbocharged engine, possibly a V8 again. Uh, you watched some of the old school races, I'm sure, and your free time you also were around for the V6 hybrid, the start of the turbo hybrid
Yeah.
generation. Do you think that's a good direction for us to return to? Maybe a complete lack of hybrid as well.
Oh, it wouldn't be awful. I think there's merit to the hybrid stuff. I think at some point you have to question. There's this whole narrative around how F1 is a driver of technology, and I've always felt it was a little bit of bullshit. Like, obviously there are technical innovations that have happened in Formula One that have transitioned to actual road cars. Do I think F1 always needs to be in line with sort of the cutting edge of car technology? No. Do I think there's, you know, like I want cars in general in the world to be increasingly electric, to be increasingly hybrid powered, to be increasingly sustainably fueled. Do I think F1 has to be? no, that's not why we watch F1. That's not why.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what needs to happen. I think you can absolutely have a naturally aspirated engine. I think you could absolutely have something turbo supercharged, something completely non-electric, maybe a hybrid with a smaller energy dependence. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, as much as I like to watch Formula E for what it is, I don't want to have a fully electric Formula One championship. I feel like that would be strange, at least where we're at right now. I think honestly, what this year has proved is that it's too early to make such a big shift towards more hybrid or to more electric. It's because the entire
Mm-hmm.
problem that we have
Yeah.
here is that we cannot put a big enough battery pack in this thing to sustain a race distance at like
Yeah.
reasonable speeds and reasonable energy consumption. So this is sort of a compromise because I think they laid down very early. We're gonna have a 50-50 electric ICE split, and then they just kind of had to go with that and make the best of the situation. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
but then the problem is that we just end up with a worse car, which is just bad. We're just
Mm-hmm.
not there with like having a battery, like the battery situation, unless we were going to make more like battleships of cars that are just massive, massive and heavy. So no, I think I don't mind this. I don't mind going back to something naturally aspirated or something with a smaller hybrid component. Um, I'm interested in the fact that they mentioned cost cutting specifically. Are we
Mm-hmm.
still thinking that we want more engine manufacturers on the grid now that we already have?
Uh, Maybe that, or maybe just that the existing ones find the current formula a bit too expensive and want their funding to be cut down even more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure, that's valid. Yeah,
Mm.
all right, yeah, yeah, it might be fair. I wouldn't
Yes,
mind.
I want to give my own opinion, but before that, I have
Yeah.
a question for you. Have you been in an electric vehicle when it launches off the line?
Uh, yes. No, I haven't had one of those where it's like 1.9 seconds 0 to 100. But I've driven
Yeah,
an electric car and like yes, it is. It's like you're driving a golf cart, but times 10.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't been in one of the super fast launches either,
Yeah.
but all the electric vehicles I've sat in, plus the electric go-karts that I've driven, the biggest feeling that you feel when you get them is that off the line you are just unstoppable. Like you
Yeah.
can beat any car you want off the line in
Yeah.
the entire world. And somehow that is the one thing that is missing from F1 in a 50-50 hybrid split era. We are getting the most start slowdowns ever, and I guess there's some logic to the traction control argument and all that. But if you just gave drivers that raw feeling when you put the pedal down, you just go immediately. I'm sure a lot of their satisfaction would come back to the sport immediately. Just the feeling of a drag race in an electric car, that alone would have been exciting at least.
Yeah.
But what they've done is they've brought electric power in, but they've not used it in any substantial way, in my opinion. And that's why I agree that if they move towards a normal engine without a hybrid or with like a 90-10 split like we used to have, that will likely be a positive for the sport as a whole. We don't
Yeah.
want to head to the Formula E direction where we have to cut down tracks and make different layouts and break away from all the classics just to be able to complete a race distance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think for sure it's the wrong direction to go, and it's weird that it is weird that we have more electric and yet we have more stalling and more problems. It might be like early season stuff. It might be something which gets fixed in time.
Mhm.
Like it might be true that
I
it might
mean,
be
I don't think
yeah.
it can be fixed because they've taken away the MGUH that was used as a start. They've blocked the usage of the MGUK. And if they try to bring it back, suddenly every single team will have to overhaul their entire engine design to fit that. Like
Yeah.
Ferrari, especially, they have built their entire engine around the philosophy of we need a small turbo to get off the corners and off the line fast.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's strange that it's a strange situation we're in, but yeah. I mean, it might be. I'm thinking that it might be something which gets ironed out over time, where we adjust it with driving style, or we adjust it with like maybe we just have slower starts in general because maybe all teams realize that it's
Yeah.
better to start. It's better to start 500 slower than every other car, but you start every time and you never stall. Maybe something like that. Like maybe we
Mhm.
end up in one of those situations where it develops as a strategy in the end to just have the perfect technique where you never stall, even if you're slightly slower or something like that. So this is something we might get past. But it's strange that we are in this situation, and I think that's why the MDU fix could actually do quite a lot in that sense
Yeah.
if they perfect it. But I also wonder, like, why isn't it just enabled immediately?
Because the concern was if you allow electric power at the very start, one, the speed difference from a stalled car would be too high, so there's a safety risk to it. And more
Fair.
importantly, teams can use the electric power to get a perfect traction control at the rear wheels and get the speed
Uh,
of the line. But my answer to that is, if every team has the ability to get traction control off the line, you're just talking off the line. Like in regular movement, you're already above the 50 kmph at speed, so you can use that anyways. If you can do that with every single team, let them fight it out. Like, I
yeah,
understand you're taking something away from the drivers, but the solution we have ended up with is far worse than the problem we were creating.
yeah, yeah. It's fair. It's fair. I feel like what if you enabled it up to 50 kph or something, or up to like 30, like you enable it up to 30 and then until the first braking zone it was disabled, so you get um you can get them off the line but you can't get up to 100. You can, like, you can't use it to have perfect traction all the way up.
I genuinely think at some tracks, especially the ones with which had the start line at the very start, it would take forever to complete that first lap. It would be as slow as a formation lap at that point, I think.
No, I mean just up to the first, then after the first corner it's fully enabled. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are tracks where the run to the first corner is like a kilometer. Like, I think which one is it? This is Mexico that has a 800-meter run to the first corner or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be Interlagos or Mexico or something like that.
No, Interlagos run isn't super long. It's kind of long, but not super. Mexico
Yeah,
is
but
very
I
long.
think there's at least one track which has a 800, 900-meter run to the first corner.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
might
Because
that might not be the best.
the Mexico main straight is huge, and the timing line is like
Yeah.
right at the start. It's like when you do qualifying, you
Mhm.
cross the finish line immediately out of the corner. It's like you want to cut that corner. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, yeah. But like, I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah, there's definitely solutions for them to work it out. Yeah.
it's like disable it between 10 and 50 kph. So like you get up to 10. So you have a drive. You have drive. It's like it's
Uh-huh.
such a small thing where like even if you were to get perfect traction control, then it wouldn't even matter because it's like you're it's this tiny distance. Yeah, sure, you gain what 2 thousandths of a second on the lap, and then it's
Yeah.
disabled for up to 50, and then up to 50, and then it's enabled at 50, so you still get speedy down to the
I
corner.
think I
If
think
you
we
have
can
if
get
you
you a
have
job with the FIA at this point.
if you have wheel spin, it's gonna happen between 10 and 50 kph. Like if you have a
Yeah.
poor start, so even if you're perfect, then it's gonna disable again, and you're just gonna be kind of screwed. But you get off the line, and you're gonna get off the line every time to the point where you can at least like jump start the car if it's stalled. um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. We can get you a job with the FIA because just like them, you're making the car slower to solve a problem.
yes.
Okay, moving on to the people battling the FIA now. The teams. We have had three races with a one team at the top consistently and a couple behind them, but overall the field has been quite kind of varied across the three races. We've seen a lot of changes from the order we would have expected at the start of the season.
Mm,
So let's get started with obviously the kings of the Formula One season so far, Mercedes, easily the fastest car.
yeah.
The question I put to you is Kimi Antonelli a real threat to George Russell, or were the China and Suzuka wins a fluke? You, of course,
Um.
predicted Kimi's win in China.
Well, I thought no. Yeah, I think he's absolutely a real threat. I think
Mhm.
let's see. I'm trying to remember, but I think the way he just looked kind of better than George in Suzuka. It's a while now. It's a while
Yeah.
now that we actually had Suzuka, but as I recall, he actually looked better. Then, of course, George was a little bit screwed by a safety car, as I recall. Like immediately after pitting was when I think Behrman's crash happened, and he was very upset about that, understandably.
Yeah.
Um, but as I recall the race, Kimi was just kind of not necessarily much better, but he also just kind of like George wasn't really closing the gap, and like yeah, George seemed to be having a rough day.
Analysis also showed that Kimi would have caught up to George even if he had to pit in
Yeah,
without the safety car.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So they're entirely. I want. The thing is, like, there's a lot of drivers in F1's history who could have had a start this good to a championship, if they had this good of a car.
Mm-hmm.
There's fewer of them that can actually sustain it to take home the championship. And I'm not sure George is that kind of guy. I'm also not sure if Kimmy's that kind of guy. It might honestly be like a race to the bottom kind of thing, where like both of them, neither like Kimmy's great. He's
Yeah.
Kimmy's great, but he's also like a rookie. He's obviously gonna end up in situations where most people in his at his experience level will get rattled, and probably happens to him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then also George historically hasn't really been that guy to perform under pressure consistently. He's kind of been someone who can screw up in that sense. And I mean, so I think it might end up being like, okay, so which one of you is the least unchampionship material, so to speak, to who settles this. But I think it's entirely deserved. He's driven great. He's driven amazingly. But it's going to come down to high pressure moments in the end, because I think he is going to be put under pressure. Russell is good enough to close the gap, and both of them are going to be under immense pressure. And the fact that it's an inter-team battle, we are going to end up in situations where there are going to be disagreements about pit strategy, obviously, and this is something that Mercedes is going to have to handle. So it's going to come down to that. It's going to come down to who performs under pressure and who can make the who can make the right calls. And yeah, that's what it's going to be.
The let them race philosophy is good in practice, good in theory, but like we saw in practice last year with McLaren, it has the chance to completely ruin your season. So Toto Wolff has been really clear about the fact that they will be allowed to race, but within very strict limits. Like even their strategy won't be allowed to deviate too far from each other if they are in a direct battle head to it. So all that might make it just a who's the faster driver and who will win the races with the same strategy. So in that case, honestly, this is the first season for George Russell to be under that pressure. This is also the first season for Kimi to be under that pressure. I really don't know which way this would go. You would edge George classically because he has a few more years under his belt, but we never know how the championship battle plays out, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways it could play out. I mean, you said that none of the 2019 rookies, including Russell, would ever win a championship, and that could still hold true at this point.
I mean, Norris already won one.
Shit, yeah, I forgot. Fuck. Oh.
Such a auraless champion that we have already forgotten about.
I've already forgotten about it. Yeah. Oh, did you see that that segment out of an interview this week, which was somebody had interviewed Norris, and at the final 10 minutes of the time, he asked about the regulations, and like his manager, who wasn't even in the room, he was on a phone call, like in the middle of the room, spoke up and was like, "No, we won't answer any questions about the regulations." And then they pulled him out of the room 10 minutes earlier. Yeah. And like Norris was like, "No, I'm happy answering the questions." And his management was like, "No, you're not." Like,
like that is one of the places where you would expect a champion to be able to put a bit of pressure back on his team, and be able to answer questions if he wants. But
yeah,
I guess he's the team player for McLaren, and that's all right for his job, I guess.
That's his job. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to Ferrari, they have been the closest challengers for Mercedes. Hamilton had a great showing in Melbourne and China, got his first podium as well. The car itself was a step behind the McLaren and Suzuka, and even if Leclerc pipped Norris to the podium, it was still comfortably third. Overall, is the second place a good territory for the Ferrari to be in? They aren't really going to move much ahead this season, it seems like, but could there be a threat from behind if McLaren keeps up the updates like they showed in Suzuka?
Yeah. Like McLaren or like Ferrari. I like the way Ferrari played or drove. Damn, CS. I like the way I like the way the Ferrari cars looked. I like the battle that they had. I like the internal battle that they had. I think they have two very good racers, evidently, as we've seen before. But like they're still doing it well. I think Hamilton has a lot more confidence in the car. I think they're in general in a much better situation than they have been before. I think they can absolutely take the fight to Mercedes, but they're gonna have to close the gap. Like they're comfortably behind McLaren or behind Mercedes. Yeah. McLaren have a chance of closing the gap to Ferrari. They're not. I wouldn't say they're safe. It's not like they're clear third and fourth every time, but it's so they have pressure from behind. But it's also, I think Ferrari have shown so far that they have a good grip of the regulations. They made decisions in the development of the car that like predicting what might happen. I think they have a good
Yeah.
understanding of what this set of regulations is, maybe better than McLaren have, considering, as we talked about in some of our episodes before the preseason, how they sort of committed to a concept from the first test to Australia. Ferrari
Yeah,
have been
exactly.
a little bit more creative. Obviously, we've seen with the flipping rear wing and everything. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I think we could see Ferrari should stay second, but we could absolutely see them take a step forward as well. And that's going
Yeah.
to depend on sort of what sort of new ideas can they try, how can they really fight back, what creativity can they show to close the gap to Mercedes. I think, and there's a really good there's good opportunities for that. McLaren, I think, are going to come in with a big upgrade. Look, everybody's going to have an upgrade package for Miami, but
Yeah,
I think
everybody's
yeah,
going to change for Miami, obviously.
but McLaren also have a hell of a lot of data on the package that they committed to in the preseason.
Mhm.
They're gonna know exactly what's wrong. They're gonna have a probably bigger than a lot of other cars, bigger upgrade package
Yeah.
for Miami, which has the opportunity to just absolutely leapfrog them. And we've seen them do that before. We've seen them have in previous years. We've seen mid-season updates from McLaren that just jump the car several
Yeah.
spots up the grid, which is
I mean, the
dangerous for
24
Ferrari.
one is what won them the championship itself.
Yeah, yeah. Like they can take big steps forward, and even in 23 where they started as barely even a
The
midfield
slowest car.
team. Yeah, but they ended the season with a genuinely strong car. So they've done this before. They can probably there's no reason to believe they couldn't do it again. And then Ferrari are in danger because they will have to innovate.
Yeah, I think for both teams, there's a little bit of a caveat both ways. For
Mm,
Ferrari, my big concern is can Hamilton actually stay in podium contention throughout the season? Like last year, he started off Melbourne and China just as well.
yeah.
And after that, obviously, this year Suzuka has been a bit better from him. But it was still a step back. Even to the limits of the car, Leclerc managed to pull a podium out, but he was down in like fifth or sixth place, I think.
Yeah.
So that is one place where I am a bit concerned that maybe Hamilton just can't keep up with Leclerc as the car gets developed over the season, and
Mm.
that is what ends up handing McLaren the chance to move to second. But other than that, yeah, Ferrari has a inbuilt advantage that nobody really can tackle, especially off the line, like we have seen in the past few races.
Yeah.
As for McLaren, I think most of the points that they lost early in the season has come down to bad luck. Like the Mercedes PU components have failed them consistently so far. Norris is already down to his last battery, so he'll definitely have to take another battery and a grid penalty with that. So it's less to do with McLaren actually being that bad and more to do with just the cars not being dealt the right way to them. I think there is a chance that that battle heats up really quickly, but
Mm.
obviously a lot of it depends on how the drivers are performing because Oscar and Norris will get whatever it takes out of the car at any given point, which
Oh, yeah.
Hamilton might not be able to do as well.
Yeah. Um, Last year showed valid concern or gave us reason
Yeah.
to be concerned about Hamilton's level and his ability to adapt,
Mhm.
especially to a car, um, which is something we didn't really have a reason to believe in before. But yeah, it's he should, like, if he can stay on top of it, which I think he absolutely could.
Yeah.
Then yeah, they could absolutely stay ahead of McLaren. But that's the way it's looking. That's going to be the exciting battle in the championship this year.
Yeah.
Is who ends on top. They have four great drivers. Like they have four amazing drivers, and
Yeah.
cars which are both going to develop quite quickly. One of them is already pretty good, and the second one is only going to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting to see.
Uh, then we can move to the two bulls. For the first time in years, probably, the two bulls aren't as far apart as we would expect. Like on certain weekends, on certain tracks, the Racing Bulls has looked like the faster car. Even the Red Bull is joining their brother in the midfield. Did you expect such a downfall for the main team? Like somehow the engine is the best thing about the package, and that was the one thing that everyone had their concerns about.
Yeah, yeah, the engines are great. The engine has proved to be amazing so far in the year. I think, and I think that's what everybody's saying. but no, it's the car is just kind of horrible. I was not expecting it. I think this absolutely is still recoverable. I think this, like, just having
Yeah.
Max in the car means that it's always going to be recoverable. But it's been a bad time. It's been a very bad time so far in the year. But yeah, like, annoyingly, it's they've fixed all the other things. Like, they have a good engine, maybe the best performing engine on the car, on the grid, at least from what I've seen so far. I've been very very impressed. They have finally a second driver who can compete in in everything, and but then of course then the chassis, which is what has been sort of the strong suit before in pretty much all of Red Bull's history. They've had a very good chassis. Even going back to when I started watching, it was like, no, if you slapped a Mercedes engine into this 2018 Red Bull, then Max Verstappen would win every single race. But
I mean, all the way back to Sebastian Vettel's win for Toro Rosso, that was the same car as the main team, just with a Ferrari engine, and it immediately won the race.
Yeah, so it's a horrible start to the year in that sense. But a lot can still happen. I have no reason to believe that this car couldn't develop, as long as you have Max in the car.
One of the reasons to believe that this car could not develop is that this is the first time that Red Bull has tackled an entire regulation from the start without Adrian Newey, right? He has
That's
had
true.
no input in this car. He has had no ideas in this car. The entire base, like even last year, the car that was able to come out towards the end of the 25 season, that was possibly the fastest on the grid. That was still built on a concept that Adrian Newey had originally designed, right? So if we are
Yeah.
giving that much credit to the genius that he is, maybe the lack of that this time around from the start of the regulation is what ends up costing them a lot.
Could happen. Could happen. This could be like we've been talking on the show about as well, how this seems to be like a transitionary year for them as well, where a lot of their staff are moving away, they're getting new staff coming in, and this might just be that year where the car is just going to be crap because you're going to have a shift in personnel and a shift in vision, which like only really pays dividends later on. So it might just be that. It might just be that this year is kind of a write-off because they're transitioning and they're having a lot of growing pains with that. And we have even more personnel who's moving on later on. But it's an interesting. It's definitely an interesting situation to see. But I do think Red Bull will recover to some degree. I think they will. They will find out like iron out the creases in the car. I don't. Can they catch the top three? Maybe not, but I think they should at least be able to stay comfortably ahead of the Racing Bulls by the end of the season.
I mean, staying ahead would be a blessing because right now they are behind the Haas and the Alpine as well. So
yeah.
Talking about personal changes, you've obviously read the news as well. GP is moving to McLaren some point in 2028. Obviously, he's still with Red Bull for the time being.
Could be
But
early.
Is that is that another worrying sign for the team then?
Yeah, I mean, of course it is. Bleeding personnel to the degree that Red Bull have been doing is probably not positive. It also seems that I'm not going to say that they're unbothered, but the fact that they almost immediately after every single person who's left Red Bull over the last couple of years, there's almost immediately been a replacement ready. Like Lauren Mecki is obviously coming from Racing Bulls, so that makes it easier. But like he was in there, and he was in there from the start, and immediately like hit the ground running. And every single time they've announced something like Adrian Newey is going to be leaving us at the end of the season, it feels like 2 days later, it's like these are the people who's going to replace him. And that's better than having this being blindsided by a move like this and having to wait for weeks to like try to lock somebody down. That's with that uncertainty. So in that sense, I think that maybe they've seen this coming, and this is why it might be a little bit of a shift, knowing that there might need to be a new group of people running the Red Bull Racing team. But it's worrying. GP and Max is obviously a relationship which has been very strong. You can obviously have a driver who's worked with a racing engineer for nigh on a decade and still have him perform with a different race engineer, or vice versa. Hamilton isn't with Bono anymore, for example. So that's it can work. I don't think necessarily that GP leaving means that Max is necessarily very, 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 very upset about it. There was the talk that he had basically asked Max permission before going to McLaren, which I thought was a nice little quote. But that also shows that I think Max is obviously fine with it, so to speak. I think there are a lot of reasons to be worried about Max's status as a Red Bull racing driver beyond 2026. This is not the biggest one. Like I could see any number of things could happen beyond this, rather than this being like a nail in the coffin. But it's there's things heaping up at the moment. Like there's things just piling on at the moment in a worrying way.
Yeah. One more final change. This might be a bit of a positive for Red Bull. They have moved over Racing Bull's tech chief to the main team. I don't have the name for the person off the top of my head, so apologies to him. But could that be a change that brings more drivability to the Red Bull cars, something that Racing Bulls have excelled in the past few years?
Yeah, sure. Like, I think this car already, to me, at least from the outside looking in, it feels like it is already more drivable considering how Hadjar is performing, like how Hadjar is breaking the streak. So that's already a positive. If Max leaves, then you're gonna need to have more drivable cars, because otherwise there's no point developing in his style. So with that, yes, I think that could be a positive depending on what happens there. Mostly, I just think Racing Bulls obviously have good cars. They've obviously had good cars for a number of years. They have cars that can perform on the day in a very strong fashion. So, in that sense, yeah, it should be a positive. I like what Racing Bulls have done in the past couple of years, and it would be nice if the main team can continue doing that as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about the Racing Bull car now for the past few years. It's obviously been really good for the young drivers. But this year, obviously, the young drivers are also looking a bit more fast than ever before. Lindblad actually looks like a star in the making, even if he isn't always on the very edge of the speed that he can get out of it.
Yeah.
And Liam Lawson is delivering the points that when he needs, so he's actually leading the inter-car battle. Could he be the new AlphaTauri Gasly, as we might put it?
I mean, look, yeah, because where can he go? It's not like they're gonna call him up to replace Max Verstappen if he leaves the team. Hadjar's great at the moment, so at the moment I can't see him being replaced.
I just thought about the news post saying that Liam Lawson will replace Max Verstappen. I just burst out of say, I'm sorry.
Just special. Where else is he gonna go? Like, Tsunoda's still around for anybody who wants, like, I won't say somebody like him, but if you're talking about like the Aston Martin route, then I think there is some credence to the rumors that we've had for what is now like 4 years about Tsunoda being linked to the same Honda move that Aston Martin have, and like perennially being like slightly pointed in that direction. Absolutely, I think if you look at all the other cars on the grid, then it's kind of like Williams have a very solid driver lineup that's going to keep being solid, and everybody else is probably looking at other youngsters, probably looking at the crop that's coming up through Formula 2 already. And I don't really see a reason why anybody would look at Lawson in a move upwards or even downwards. Like, if he wants to be the new AlphaTauri Gasly, then yeah, he might end up being an Alpine driver. He might end up being like a Haas or a Sauber driver, or Audi, I guess now, in the future. But I don't really see him as like a prime candidate for that, no matter how well he performs. So he might as well just stay in this Racing Bull car and just play out the time. Just keep on driving. He's no stranger to moving to other categories. Stay as long as you can in Racing Bulls, and when you get booted, unless there's like an obvious move on the grid, go back to DTM. Like, go win championships there. Go race go race hybrid prototypes. Go race IndyCar. Like that'd be great to see. That'd be amazing. Because I think he's a well-rounded driver in that case. So in that way. So yeah, he's obviously delivering. He's a solid midfield driver.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can race very well. He has a good racecraft. It's not just
Yeah.
driving fast. He actually battles quite well as well. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, certainly an improvement from where Liam felt he was just at the end of the last season, where he could have just been out of the car entirely. And this time, the car is looking fast enough that on the right day, with enough cars going out, there might be a podium on the cards for at least one of them. Like Lindblad was already close in the opening round itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now talking about the top of the midfield, Haas and Alpine are both absolutely firing on all cylinders. It seems both the lead drivers, Behrman and Gasly, are consistently fighting in the top 10. It seems, and on top of that, both teams are making the most of the power units that they have behind them. Like both teams just look like the perfect second team to Ferrari and Mercedes respectively. What do you make of the midfield battle between those two? Is there anything that you give the edge to one or the other in that sense?
Oh, I think the Alpine have have a lot of interesting technical innovations. I think the one thing we saw was how they've shaped their rear wing, doing away
Yeah.
with one of the horizontal planes to um, effectively get a bigger drag reduction out of the straight mode
Hmm.
is what I think is happening, and that's very good for them. Um, I think the Haas car just looks very well rounded in general. It's
Yeah.
from the start, it's sort of like looking at it, I sort of felt like, yeah, that just looks like a race car, and usually that's a good sign. Um, and yeah, but then as well, you have some excellent drivers. Like Gasly is obviously proving why he is a Formula One driver, as he did last year, where he was sort of a
Yeah.
sneaky, silent performer, just continue actually getting himself into like maybe not that often in Q3, but I remember seeing a stat which was like, yeah, Gasly's been in, if it was Q2 or Q3, more than Lewis Hamilton. And it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, how the Alpine has been the worst car for most of the year,
Hmm.
and somehow he's still
He
up
was
there.
he
But
was getting some amazing performances out of it. You're
yeah,
right.
so he's doing great, and he keeps doing so. But and then Behrman is just he has that he also has very good racing. Like I see him pulling off moves, which is very
Hmm.
good to see. Then he is just quick. He just has great pace.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Alpine is at a great little push from last year. Sort of maybe riding the wave of that Gasly performance that we saw at the end of last year. Um, and the Haas is just well rounded. I don't think the Haas car
Hmm.
can. If I was going to pick one of the two to win that battle by the end of the year, it might be the Haas, just because I think the Alpine is clearly having struggles with the second driver. Maybe it
Yeah.
isn't the best car if Colapinto struggles to finish in the points. While the Haas just looks well rounded. Ocon is also up there. Ocon is clearly slower than Behrman, and he's under pressure
I
because of
mean,
that.
when he isn't kicking Colomito out of the race entirely, he is up there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean Ocon in that sense, Ocon is definitely performing better in that sense,
Hmm.
but than Colapinto. But he's clearly slower than Behrman, so it's still under pressure. But it looks more
Yeah.
well-rounded in general. And even if they each only have 1 point in the actual championship, I feel like I see them running much better. And Ocon is running closer to Behrman a lot of the time, so that's nice.
Well, now we move on to the back of the grid. I have purposely put Audi down there with Aston Martin because those two are very closely related with all the news that's going around. So let's get into Williams first. The car is still overweight. The car is still sometimes three-wheeling, where the inside front just goes light when they're turning into a corner.
Yeah.
Uh, how have they managed to mess things up this badly? Like even James Wall's transparency that we were all lauding last season is lacking, and there's pressure on the team that a major change could happen eventually. Do you see any positives for the Williams side, or is it just try to stick it out with the current team as long as you can now?
I'd probably just stick it out. I think development is what needs to happen here. I think we've seen Williams cars get stronger throughout the mid part of a season in the past as well. I think we've seen them
Hmm.
develop a little bit, um, and actually have positive development curves. I think they're not that far off in a lot of the cases. Like we have Albon with a P12 in the opener is pretty close, and then once
Yeah,
again
but how many
Sainz.
cars had to go out to do that?
Yeah, that's a fair point. But then Sainz with a P9, like he's obviously inside the points in China.
Yeah.
And as didn't they have some sort of an incident in Japan, or am I wrong? The album
Can't
was just,
remember right now.
I think Albon's car was just broken in some way, and they just ran it
Mm-hmm.
for fun, I guess. I'd try to develop, to be honest. I think it might be a little bit early, especially considering this is sort of, they've been building towards the peak that I think was supposed to be the 2026 season, which was supposed to be a continuation. This is a bit of a plateau. It's not necessarily a decline. Like
I
we're
mean,
only
compared
like,
to the fifth position that they started and finished the season last year, it's
yeah.
certainly a decline, right?
Okay, yeah, in that sense, but we're only 3 races in. It's like it's
Okay.
if you look in a further perspective, if you look back to 2020, let's say 2021, and then you look at where it's
Yeah.
like it's a steady climb year on year on year on year. Now
Mhm.
it's when they've had a proper blip for the first time, and we're only three races in. There's every reason, I think, to see a chance of improving here. It's also like what I'm worried about is why Sainz looks like he's not able to extract more out of the car, because at the start of last season he was very uncomfortable, and it was difficult for him to have consistent performances. But then he
I think
improved and he managed.
among the two of them, he looks like the slightly better one so far
Yeah,
compared to Albon, I think.
yeah. But
Yeah.
last year over the course of the season, towards the end of the season, he scored that podium. He was having
Yeah.
very good points finishes. Now it looks like he's kind of the guy who I see having snap overs there occasionally, and I see him
Mm-hmm.
pushing the car beyond the limits, and I see him looking a little bit uncomfortable in that sense. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think a lot of their issues are mechanical, and if you can work that out, it might still be a very good car. But it's yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am being downbeat to sell the point here, but there's always a chance that they just rock up into Miami. The car is back onto the weight limit, and suddenly Williams is the third fastest Mercedes car
Yeah.
ahead of the Alpine. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, then the newcomers to the grid, Cadillac. I don't really have much to say about them. What about you, Quacke?
They're slow. They race each other.
Yeah.
They had one incident in China, which was a bit of an error where they crash into each other, and
Mm.
that's obviously not good for them. I hope they've written off this season from the very start, because that's where they're going to
Yeah.
have to be. They're better than Aston Martin.
Yeah.
It's about it.
I mean, that was what we had suggested to them at the start of the season, anyways. That don't set your expectations to get even a single point this season.
Yeah.
Just build towards something good, so that in a few years you can be a proper threat to the front of the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, we get to the adventures of Jonathan Wheatley. He has left Sauber Audi for personal reasons, according to the statement that the team put out. And he is rumored to be going to Aston Martin. Would you be making that jump if you were in his shoes?
I have to imagine that Aston Martin have some reason to believe that there's something big happening now, because
I mean, the reasons are probably the zeros in their bank account, but okay.
I'm wondering, like, so many times now, where Aston Martin have sort of been, next year is going to be a big year for us. Next year is going to be a bigger year for us. Next year we're going to do something. Where originally it was when they bought Racing Point, and like they had that 1 year of being pink Mercedes, and then the next year it was like the next year.
Green
Next year was like next year is when we have developed a great car. No, sorry, the first year it was just we're just the old Force India team. But in 2020 we're gonna be a great car, and then they were the pink Mercedes. It was basically like one carbon copy of the Mercedes car, and it worked pretty great. Like they had a pretty good performance. And it was like, okay, next year it's Aston Martin, and we're gonna be even better then. And then they weren't really. And then it's been these kind of pushes where like next year's gonna be our big year, and we have this new staff, and next year's gonna, now they have even more staff who have just come in, like Newey's come in. This is gonna be the big year where we have the big backing. We have Alonso. We have Newey's coming in, and now we have even more personnel, and now we have even more. So I'm wondering, like, at some point, if you are Jonathan Wheatley, why have you seen this record and thought, okay, but maybe I am the next big thing, which is going to happen to Aston Martin, which is going to amount to nothing.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's very weird. But like, that's sort of why I feel like there's gotta be something which they're selling him on, because he's not a dumb guy, unless he's planning on
I
retiring
mean,
with money in the bank. But
the
I mean,
team was the team was talking about Alonso just completing the Suzuka GP in P18 as a major win for the team's 2026 campaign. Like anytime you have to talk about just getting the race distance in as a major
yeah,
win, that should be what Cadillac is talking about, not what Aston Martin is talking
yeah,
about.
yeah. It's gotta be like that they have like a whole secret second team, or if they're like, no, they're like showing him around the factory, and they open like a secret door behind a bookcase, and there's the 2027 car already done and everything, and it's like,
Uh,
this is 5 seconds faster per lap than our current car, and we're running it next year. Or some shit like that. It's gotta be something like they've shown him something special for next year if he's actually going there.
I mean, to me, it seems like a not the best move for Jonathan Wheatley. Like
Yeah,
the Sauber chassis itself is working very well for the team, and both drivers. Hulkenberg is a step behind Bertoletto, especially in qualifying, but the
solid.
driver is still performing. The chassis
Yeah,
is solid, and the biggest issue for the team so far has been the large turbo on their engine, which is something they can probably fix for next year, anyways. So I
yeah,
feel like this is at best jumping from the fire pan into the fire.
yeah. I mean, they're a,
At
they're
best,
com-
yeah.
they're com- they're a completely new engine manufacturer, and they
Hmm.
are actually getting points. That's what I think is
Yeah.
fucking astonishing, to be honest. Like they obviously have staff. They've hired staff from Formula One with Formula One experience. But like, how is this happening? Like, why aren't they having these big issues that put them 2 seconds behind per lap? Just as a, like, obviously the chassis is the chassis,
Yeah.
the chassis is a Sauber chassis, but like the engine. How is this a freshly
Yeah.
developed engine in a completely new regulations, and they got it right? And you're
Yeah.
leaving? Like, what? What's up with that? Like, it
Yeah,
feels very
I don't
strange.
know. He was working so well with the team as well. Like immediately when he joined last year, we saw the improvements. We were praising him on this podcast itself.
Yeah, very weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that we've talked about all the teams and we've talked about the Falcons of F1 in Aston Martin, I'm going to borrow another page from your and King T's CS podcast, and we are going to move into the Eternal Shuffle.
Ah,
That's just a
what's
one-time joke.
happening? What's happening? Reality's caving in.
Yeah, so that's just a one-time joke for the three people that watch our podcast and also for the CS.
Yeah, and we're two of those.
Yeah. So, in the most self-indulgent format ever,
Yeah.
let's talk about Red Bull. Max Verstappen is officially supposed to be on the team till 2028, but signs are pointing to him leaving a lot sooner than that. What's your take on the Max situation? Is everything pointing towards a sabbatical at the very least?
At the moment, yeah. I mean, look, he said he was considering it unless things change, and things aren't really looking like they're changing. So unless Red Bull manage to hit like because I think the blame on this is partly on them as well. It's not just the regulations, but if the Red Bull car was winning, then he wouldn't be considering retiring, obviously. But like, as he said, because he said outright like he was considering retiring after 2026 when he says it in like flat out, no uncertain terms. He's obviously considering retiring after 2026. So unless the Red Bull car starts performing massively and he starts winning races again, then yeah, he could absolutely leave. He seems to be enjoying endurance racing. He seems to be having fun trying out different things, and it's kind of like he said that he wants to have more of a home life. He's always been that kind of guy, somebody who values the time outside of the track as well. And yeah, like he could absolutely leave, and that opens up a huge can of worms for a 2027 transfer market.
Yeah, exactly. That's obviously why I've picked Red Bull as the starting point because that's probably going to be the domino like Lewis
Yeah.
Hamilton in 2025 that changes everything. So if Max leaves, let's say, Hatcher is probably staying on because
Oh
he
yeah.
has been performing well.
Yeah.
Who's coming in? Is it just get the next Racing Bull driver up, or is it actually time for Red Bull to move out to other teams and pick their best drivers once again?
Oh, absolutely, they could do that, and absolutely, they maybe should do that because they could have any number of drivers. They could have whoever is the most unhappy at McLaren. Like you could absolutely have either Oscar or Norris there.
Yeah, Norris's contract is running out in 2026 itself.
Yeah, And if he's unhappy being in a McLaren where they are right now, or if he feels under prioritized next to Piastri, if he's just flat out not performing compared to Piastri, then he might feel that look, this is my Vettel year, and this is my 2014 Vettel year where I move on to a different team, and he could absolutely go to Red Bull. Same for Oscar. Like if Oscar feels like no, I got kind of shafted in the 25 championship by my own team. I got slightly under prioritized there. If that continues in 2026, then why shouldn't he go to Red Bull? Let's say Kimi Antonelli wins this year's championship. Why wouldn't Russell try to go to a different team? Or why? Like there's stuff that could happen there. Like Ferrari is another one where like. No, okay, Leclerc staying.
I would love to see Leclerc out of. I would love to see Leclerc out of that team.
Yeah, but like, I think maybe those three are the ones that I'd be looking at if I was Red Bull thinking about. But the way Ferrari could affect it is if Hamilton stays on for another year, then sure, Behrman could absolutely move, like drop the Ferrari family, and if he thinks that no, I'm way too good to drive a Haas car at the moment, and Red Bull have a spot.
Yeah.
Give me a call, and he'll help in there. They'd probably be happy to have him.
That's kind of what Sainz did back in the Toro Rosso days, right? He was tired of driving the Toro Rosso, and he moved over to Renault instead of the Red Bull family.
Yeah, and that worked out great for him in the end. So Behrman has every reason to do that if that's the situation he ends up in.
Yeah, I mean, if we go that far down the line, honestly, another pairing that they could look at is the Williams pair itself. Like both Sainz and Albon have been in the Red Bull family before. They know the team well. Albon especially has the respect of a lot of people there. It could just be that Williams lose their drivers considering how bad the season is being, and one of the two makes up the place for Red Bull.
Yeah, absolutely could happen. Like it's not. I think it's slightly unlikely that it's Albon, considering. I mean, yes, people liked him, but I don't think he liked being there very much. I think he had a bit of a rough time in that sense. Evidently, well, better than Gasly, for example. Gasly, I think, has a genuine animosity for the Red Bull family.
Gasly is not going there, yeah.
No, but like I think it's more likely that you have Sainz, because I think Sainz was always a solid performer for the Red Bull family. I think they were always happy with him, and he was always happy with them up until the point where he didn't get called up when Daniel Ricciardo left. Yeah. So. I would think it's slightly more likely that Sainz goes there, especially if the Williams woes continue, like you said. That's actually a great point. Where like the Williams are having a rough time, it could be them. But that's where the dominoes are going to start falling, and then you can splinter off into however many realities you want, where you end up with. What if Russell goes there? Who fills in Mercedes? It could be the same situation as said before. Like the less happy McLaren driver could go there. Like a Mercedes Oscar Piastri would not be impossible.
To keep the number of realities in check, if you had to pick just one driver to replace Max, who would it be right now? The realistic one, let's say.
I like the idea of a Red Bull Russell. I think I like the idea of that. Where like if we have a Kimi Antonelli championship, and Russell feels either like Russell's contract's coming up, and Russell feels either he's deprioritized, or Mercedes feel that they have a better option. Maybe Norris decides that. Fuck it, let's just go to the winning team because why not? And we end up in some sort of situation there. That's entirely possible. So why shouldn't he go to Red Bull if Max was leaving? So I'll just say Russell.
Okay. So putting Russell on Red Bull now, we are moving to Mercedes, of course. Kimi Antonelli as the champion would probably stay on in that scenario, and the second seat is now empty, and Max Verstappen is on sabbatical. So do they wait? Do they just get a stopgap arrangement again to wait for Max to come back and try to lure him in once again because they are the fastest car?
Last year,
do they just get some signed immediately?
Last year we were talking about Max potentially leaving because he was unhappy with Red Bull. This year we're talking about Max leaving because he's unhappy with the championship. I think it's unlikely that Max comes back to a different team in 2027. It's perfectly reasonable that Toto would be holding out for it. I think he would be absolutely delighted to have both Max and Kimi on the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kimi staying on, I think, no matter what is going to happen. Like, even if he
Mm.
doesn't win the championship, then it's perfect. He gets another rookie year, and he's or like he gets another year after his rookie, like after his 2 first years, to potentially fight for a 2027 championship. And I think he's perfectly happy with that arrangement as well. Um, and if he wins the championship, then he's obviously staying on. So I think Kimi stays on no matter what. If they were to replace Russell for one reason or another, I think they would. It really depends on what sort of messaging Max is doing. Because if Max
Yeah.
leaves F1 early and like says that like, nah, I am straight up fucking retired, then they probably won't hold out for him. They'll probably want to get somebody in there. But if he just says I'm taking a sabbatical and I'll be back in 28, then sign fucking I don't know who. I don't really care who. Sign Ocon. Like you already like Ocon. Have Ocon play second fiddle to Kimi, and he'd probably be happy to do it, to finally drive that Mercedes car that he was hoping to get a call up to for I don't know how many years, way back when. So honestly, Ocon, yeah, just
Ocon again over
sign
Ocon
Ocon.
over the people like we were just talking about Sainz and Albon.
I think Mercedes would be more. Toto would be more. If you're just getting a 1 year stopgap, I think Toto would be far more likely to pick Ocon than anybody else. If you're looking
And
for,
that's probably the best chance for Ocon to stay on the grid
yeah,
as well, honestly.
yeah, it's like an Ocon. If it was a couple of years ago, then maybe a Hulkenberg. But now I feel like it's an Ocon, and he wants to stay on the grid. He gets a go in the top team. He has like a potential to be to get that sort of Red Bull
Multi-race wins and
Perez kind
stuff.
of chance. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ocon and Kimi Antonelli is the Mercedes pair for 2027 after winning the championship.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If Max
If
decides that
Max retires.
if he's just taking a break, then yeah, sure. Or if it feels that way, if they're talking to Max's camp and they say we're absolutely open to coming back in 2028, give us a big money contract and we'll do it no matter what, then sure, absolutely. But if he's like out and like his agent isn't even picking up the calls, then then try to get a Norris, try to get a Piastri. I don't think there's any exciting Mercedes juniors at the moment.
They're still using Vesti as their third, right?
Yes, and he's not driving
Yeah,
an
Vesti
F1.
is the third,
So,
and Dorian Pan is their reserve driver on top of that as well.
Dorian Pan is one I could genuinely see in F1, but she wouldn't hop straight into an
She
a
needs a
Mercedes
couple of
main team.
seasons in like
Yeah,
two, probably.
yeah. So she long term maybe yes, but not now. Let me see. Let me actually just really quickly check the F2 championship because it's actually hard to find out. But this is good to find out anyway. Because they do say is it Alex Dunn? No.
Didn't Dunn move to McLaren?
Yeah, probably. And if he gets an F1 drive.
Dunn moved from McLaren to Alpine, I think.
Yes. Oh, no, I can't find. I genuinely can't. I thought I was going to be able to tell by the race suits.
They are buying into Alpine as well. Mercedes is buying into Alpine as well. They can try to get one of the Alpine juniors if they really want to.
Yeah.
Or or one of the Alpine drivers, I guess.
I thought I was going to be able to find out by looking at the race suits, but I can't. Yeah. No, I can't find one immediately. The Red Bull and McLaren ones are obvious, but fucking Colton Herta, get him in there. No, Mercedes wouldn't do that. Like they're gonna look at getting somebody in a second fiddle to Kimi.
I think if they wanted to do that, they would just bring Bottas over again and move Herta into the Cadillac instead, like something like that.
Yeah, Ocon or Bottas as a stopgap to play second fiddle for Antonelli.
Close enough. Welcome back 2021 Mercedes.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about Ferrari next. Leclerc obviously is Mr. Ferrari. He's not going anywhere. If he is, then we have to do this episode again anyways. But the bigger story is Hamilton. Should Ferrari still be thinking about Bahrain after Hamilton has been performing this well?
Yeah. Obviously, we're only 3 races in. A lot can change still, but if Hamilton keeps performing, then there's every reason why you'd want to keep him. There's every reason why Hamilton would want to stay on Ferrari.
Is there any argument for you just make the change right now so that you are in a winning position in a year?
No.
Because Leclerc is fast enough to win right now, so you don't really need a number 1 driver in that way. Hamilton is not really going to beat Leclerc regularly anyways.
Leclerc is going to be fast enough to win next year as well. I don't
Yeah.
have any reason to believe
So
that. So what?
you could get Behrman and start betting him in early because it doesn't really affect your championship.
Maybe, but you might as well have Hamilton in there for all the reasons that you want to have Lewis Hamilton in your
Yeah,
team. And
that's true.
Leclerc has, to me, as far as I'm concerned, Leclerc is going to be able to win in a Ferrari when they give him that car for the next 5, 6, 7 years, no
Yeah.
problem, because he's been doing it for the previous 5, 6, 7 years, no problem at all.
And
So
he
if you,
hasn't really had the championship pressure as
yeah,
much as just those 6 months in 2022. Yeah.
let Hamilton carry on until he retires or is too shit to defend. And then you can get Behrman in and start vetting him because you'll still be vetting him early to replace Leclerc. Like Leclerc is just gonna keep going. Leclerc is just gonna stay up there and he's gonna keep doing a good job. Whenever you get Behrman in, is gonna be early because you'll still have Leclerc. Like it's I don't. You might as well play it out with Hamilton unless he just completely falls off the cliff. Then you might as well just go for Behrman. But if
Okay.
Hamilton's up there like
So
fighting with Leclerc
yeah.
and fighting for wins, then keep him on for 27 as well.
Okay. We called them possibly the top two driver lineups on the grid last
Yeah.
year, this year as well, maybe. Ferrari, we are sticking with Hamilton and Leclerc. What about McLaren? Norris's contract is coming up. We said there's every chance for either of them to move away. There's also every chance for them both to just take it out somehow because the car isn't really competitive enough to make them fight.
No, they're not in a championship position at the moment. Um, like we said, they could develop, they could close that gap. It's feasible. But at the moment, it's not looking that way. If I was gonna make a move right now, if today was the end of the season, then I would absolutely move one of them out of McLaren, to be honest, because I think both of them have, especially Austria has pure championship talent that they should be on a good team. And they're the ones that I think they only move if there's some sort of domino from Max, because both of them should be a prospect for Red Bull if Max
Yeah.
leaves. They both of them should move if Russell decides to go to Red Bull, then one of them should fill that gap on Mercedes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Mercedes should throw all the money they have at trying to make that happen as well. So,
Mhm.
but if nothing's happening there, I don't see why any of them would move downwards. Like, there's no.
Yeah.
None of them should go to Aston Martin. None of them should go to like an Audi or something like that. Like they have enough talent to either. They're also. I expected that we'd have a lot more blows last year between the two fighting for the championship.
Mhm.
They seem perfectly happy being equal status, so to speak, if they are. It depends on which Twitter stan you ask, but
Yeah.
but they seem to be able to coexist at least for now.
Mhm. Okay, down in the midfield once again, we'll
Yeah.
try to get these done a bit quicker. Williams, Sainz, and Albon both have their contracts coming up shortly. Can they hold on to either of them, both of them?
Um, I could see both of them having a reason to move to Aston Martin if they make a move,
Mm-hmm.
but I also can't really see them moving unless they can move upwards. And even moving to Aston Martin is a huge risk.
I mean, do you think something like a Sainz to Audi move that could have happened in 24 happens now?
It's possible. Nico is not a guarantee anymore.
Yeah.
He's not a guaranteed point scorer anymore, I would say. So yeah, that could happen. But that's all. It really depends on how shit Williams are. If you're completely disillusioned with the idea of being a Williams driver at the end of 2026, then make every move you want because you're not going to be worse off driving. Maybe slightly worse off driving an Aston Martin, but you're not going to be worse off driving for another midfield team. So sure, make that move. But it's no, there's no reason to move unless you can move upwards. They're obviously a potential target, like we said, for Red Bull or for Mercedes, but unless you can move upwards, maybe a return to McLaren, that would be fun for
Yeah.
for Sainz. Like he could go back to the McLaren team if they lose one of
Yeah, I
their two
think
drivers.
for any top team making a move, I think Sainz, except for Red Bull, who had their connections with both of them, I think
Yeah.
Sainz has more of an appeal for any top team because he's
Oh yeah.
worked in well in McLaren, he's worked well in Ferrari. if any of those teams, like if Ferrari suddenly thinks that Behrman is still too crash prone, maybe he has a number of crashes through the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Suddenly, if Hamilton is not performing, Sainz can again be an option for the team.
Yeah, he's obviously had relationships with all of the top teams except for Mercedes, and
Yeah.
Mercedes should be very interested in him if they want a high performing driver to drive alongside Antonelli. Then Williams is Sainz is perfect for that. But I could see. Do you know what I could see? I could see both of them having some value in going to Alpine as well.
Okay. Yeah, that could make sense. Alpine definitely needs a second driver right now. Gasly is obviously staying, but I don't think Colapinto gets a second year, even if he's performing like he's now occasionally getting points.
Colapinto, I think is going to be. We didn't. I think like Colapinto is one I think goes either way. They're going to go for a junior unless they have somebody like a Sainz or an Albon who's perfectly happy leaving Williams or something like that.
The car is performing, yeah.
Yeah, because a Sainz Gasly lineup would be like a top 3 or even top 4, like top 4 or even top 3 driver lineup on the grid at the moment.
Yeah.
Ours
Especially if Max walks out, suddenly Red Bull is the team in contention for top lineups.
Yeah. Then, like obviously, if Max walks out, then Sainz is a target for Red Bull as well. But like, even if Max stays, then go to Alpine. They have a car which is finally performing at a decent level. You can pair both of them could probably pair quite well with Gasly. I'm not sure. I think Sainz drove alongside Gasly in Toro Rosso at one point, but Albon definitely did.
Yeah.
I think at the end of 17, Sainz would have been with Gasly, yeah.
No, I don't think the two overlap. I think Gasly replaced Sainz or something like that.
Oh, yes. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. There's also, like, the more you're talking about the Sainz to Alpine move, there's also the consideration that Mercedes is talking about longer term moving away from 4 teams, instead moving to just 3. And they will be investing in Alpine shortly. They're like buying 24% of it. So that could be a relationship that just gives him the Mercedes engine for as long as he wants to stay on the grid now.
Yeah, it's an option. It's an option for both of them, I would say. But in particular, Sainz, who I think is the hotter prospect of the two.
Okay, to keep it fun, let's move Sainz over to Alpine with Gasly.
Yeah.
And then talk about who Williams can get. Like, one of their juniors is wait, who's the junior? Browning, right? Lucas Browning.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Do you think that's who comes in?
It's so hard to know with these F2 drivers. He's not even in F2, is he? He's Formula 3? Or am I wrong?
No, I think he's in F2, or maybe he's doing something else this season.
He might be. Yeah, I think he's doing something else this season. He's not on the F2 grid now, as far as I can see.
Yeah, he's doing Super Formula.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Not overly familiar with him, as far as I remember. He's not like an all-time great junior driver. It's, you have options. I think, isn't Jack Crawford also a Williams guy, or is he an Alpine guy?
No, I think Crawford might be Aston Martin.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, Aston Martin.
Jack, yeah. Let me check. Williams Junior Team, or whatever they're called. You can usually find these on Wikipedia, and they actually list all the drivers. Okay, this was naughty. There we go.
I think Browning is the only driver on Williams' junior program right now.
He's already their reserve driver.
Yeah.
So he's obviously not horrible. He's close to the F1 team already. No, they have a bunch, but they're not particularly good.
Okay.
They have Luke Browning. They have Alexander Bondarev, who's in Italian F4. Okay, he's 16, so he's not driving F1. Then they have Alessandro Giusti, who's driving F3. And then the rest, no notable, are like karting drivers. So no, they don't really have anybody.
Okay, so it's either Browning or someone else from the current grid.
What's Latifi doing these days?
Bring back the goat for one more Max Verstappen
Yeah,
championship, or maybe
bring back
he
Roy.
gets one for Hamilton now.
Yeah, bring back Roy Nissani. Now
Okay, I yeah.
they could get somebody like a Victor Martins. Victor Martins isn't horrible. He's somebody who
Mhm.
could fill a gap, and they have him as a reserve driver already. But the thing is, I don't think he's ever really been F1 material proper, so it wouldn't exactly be a long term change. I think they could. Okay, that could be the one place where I think Liam Lawson could actually gain from moving. If
Oh,
if, if Liam Lawson keeps
okay.
performing well, for some reason gets replaced in the Racing Bulls if they want to get more juniors in or something,
Yeah.
and there's a spot open at Williams, then he could just do the same thing he's already doing, but over there, just keep bagging in
Mhm.
points finishes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's give Williams both of the failed Red Bull drivers, Albon
yeah,
and Lawson for 27. Yeah.
perfect lineup.
Then Racing Bulls themselves, I think Lindblad is staying. Liam Lawson will probably be staying as well. But in our imaginary scenario, Nicholas Solov is the next Red Bull driver then?
Yeah, he's leading the F2 championship at the moment after one round of racing. Um, which is not ideal. Obviously, it's not much to read into. But Solov is he's an exciting driver. He's an exciting prospect.
Yeah.
Born in 2006, he's obviously an up and comer. He's driven well in the past. He was in 2025. He finished second in F3. Um,
Hmm.
and actually, hang on, did he finish F3? Did he skip the last couple of rounds to move to F2, or was the F3 season already finished? Let me check, because that's
F3 season finishes before F2, right? We would
usually,
have.
yeah. F3, yeah, he didn't skip. He drove out the final round, but he did drive a little bit of F2
Yeah.
last year as well, which is why
Mhm.
I wondered. um, I could see him moving upwards. He's
Okay.
obviously talented. I could see him moving into Racing Bulls. Like Racing Bulls are probably the easiest environment to just kind of step into because it's not high pressure. If you go out after one season, then whatever. Like it happens. Um,
Hmm.
it's not a massive failure on your part. It's kind of just a natural step to take after you perform well in Formula 2. So that would be nice. As for other Red Bull drivers, I think they do. They're not hard pressed. Like they obviously have other drivers. Um,
Yeah.
but I think you'd have a difficult time finding somebody who's as good or better than Nikola Tsolov at the moment because
I
he's
mean,
the only.
Sonoda and Navasa are around, but if they wanted either of those, they would have done it last season as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
and even Iwasa, I'm not even sure they still have, to be honest. I think they might have moved on from him. Yeah,
oh,
they moved on from him.
okay.
He's not with them anymore. Jack Crawford, he was also on
Okay.
Red Bull, and they moved on from him. Um,
Hmm.
There's like Zane Maloney's another one who they moved on from. Enzo Fittipaldi
Yeah.
as well. Like
Done, they
there's a lot of
nearly
them.
signed last year and then moved on.
Yeah. They actually recently moved on from quite a lot of drivers. But the ones they have right now, the only one who's in F2 is the only one they have right now who's in F2 um, is
Solo.
Tsolov, Nikola Tsolov. Yeah. The rest of them are in F3, and it
Okay.
would be too early to promote them.
So, yeah, Racing Bulls will be Lindblad and Nicholas Solov. Congratulations, Bulgaria. You have your first F1 driver as well.
Yeah. Exciting.
And now we get to one of the most interesting seats on the grid, in my opinion. Alonso said that 2026 could be his last season. Stroll probably stays on as long as he wants to. So, who replaces Alonso in Aston Martin? The team isn't really performing well enough to attract anyone really good. Is it just Sonoda's time?
Ooh. Yeah, it could be. It could be Tsunoda's time. I think there is some credence to the rumors that we've had. The rumors of because we've had these happening for a long time, and
Mhm.
that's obviously there's no smoke without fire, so to speak. Like it's I think it might be not necessarily true that it was like far gone, but talks probably happen.
Mhm.
Honda obviously love him.
Yeah.
And while Aston Martin might not love Honda at the moment, it's that's still a partnership that exists, and Honda might say, "Hey, you can take our driver," and they should be happy to take him. Tsunoda's great, and I don't really see them having another in-house option. It would be like Jack Crawford, but the rest of them are
Yeah.
not really particularly noteworthy. Drogovic is around, but it's a couple of years late for him to be particularly exciting, I think.
What's your
So
thoughts on Alonso's retirement or not?
if it is his retirement, then it's obviously in due time. Alonso performs. Alonso performs, and he can perform, and he can keep performing. I don't think there's
Yeah, but do
necessarily
you think he wants to go through years of nerve damage to get to that stage where he is performing and again?
no, I don't think so. So I think he's in a similar situation to Max, where like he'll just be so unhappy with the current situation where he wants to go, because yeah, why would you go through the tunnel just like to reach the light at the end of it is the thing.
Yeah.
I think this might be his last year. I think he might, unless Aston Martin dramatically improve, if they manage to fix the engine packaging and say that like, because what they said was that they cannot test the car's aerodynamic performance because you can't carry enough speed through the corners, which is
Yeah.
horribly depressing. If that's true, and they might have a great aerodynamic package as long as they fix the engine package, then Alonso could stay on for another year. But I doubt that happens. I think he is just going to be gone. And at that point, Tsunoda, like, would you say that there's even the slightest chance that Max Verstappen goes to Aston Martin?
No, not at this moment. Like he has the choice to just walk into any team. At max, he has to sit out the 2027 season, and whatever team he wants to go to will make room for him in 28. Like even if Mercedes wins the title this year with Russell, Kimi still has a chance to win it next year with Mercedes. Some other team could get into contention, and suddenly Russell going out of Mercedes isn't that big of a deal for 2028.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's like the Newey thing and the no, actually, yeah, there's a GP is going to McLaren. All right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Before
think
we lock,
yeah,
yeah.
I'd say Tsunoda. Tsunoda is my pick, but I can't really see it being
Before we
anybody else.
lock Sunoda in, there's one interesting move that I heard on the Race F1 podcast, which I really enjoy listening to. Uh, Haas F1 team is sponsored by Toyota, the rivals of Honda in Japan, obviously. And
Mm-hmm.
they might also be in the need of a driver, possibly a Japanese driver.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think in the battle between Haas and Aston Martin, one of them might end up being the more attractive one for Tsunoda? Or do you think his
Uh,
loyalty will to Honda because the Japanese are so known for their loyalty and traditions that he might just stick it out?
oh, that's a fair point to make. I think he's a Honda guy. If
Mm,
it really depends on where Aston Martin are when it comes to it. Because if Aston Martin are still so far off that it's not even worth thinking about having a good performance in 2027, then obviously then obviously Haas is the better option, and he should take that option, and I think he would take that option if he had it in front of him.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's there's other Japanese options. Like Iwasa's still around. Iwasa's still
Hmm.
a reasonable prospect. There's other super formula drivers you could probably find if you knew that grid better than I do.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to necessarily lock yourself into Tsunoda to be to find this the Japanese marketing that you're effectively looking for when you're
Hmm.
when you're looking towards one of those drivers. But Tsunoda's also a great
Okay.
driver.
So, yeah.
Haas could want either Tsunoda or Iwasa for different reasons. They're good drivers as well. So
Hmm.
I think it comes down to a battle. But in the end, I think Tsunoda. Yeah, Tsunoda might be the center of it. And if Haas are fifth in the championship and Aston Martin are comfortably 10th, then obviously Haas.
Yeah. Okay. For now, which would you prefer we keep Sonoda with?
Give me Iwasa in Haas and give me Tsunoda in Aston Martin.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's do Iwasa in Haas and Sonoda in Aston Martin.
yeah,
Iwasa
yeah,
getting a for F1 seat after so long would be fun for his career, I'm sure.
yeah.
Okay, final couple of teams. Cadillac, I'm just gonna say no change. Herta is still a bit far away from an F1 prospect, I would imagine.
Yeah. Um,
Okay. Yeah, not much to say, just like their car. Audi, finally. Bortoleto is still developing, still shows his speed well enough to stay on. Nico Hulkenberg would be heading out. This might be the final season of Hulk.
It could be. He's not. He's no longer a guaranteed point scorer, as I think was his main value for midfield teams for the past couple of years. So he's already kind of been out already once.
Yeah.
In the pandemic. In the
I think
pandemic
the
years.
big draw for him is the German relationship with Audi, of course.
Yeah.
Do you think that buys him another year just off the back of that?
It could, but if he's just not scoring, then why should they? And they're another one of those where like it's an attractive prospect for any of these midfield drivers, maybe making side grades. It would be a worthwhile move for one of the Williams drivers to make if they want out of Williams. It would be a nice move for them to make. So for them, I would say even Ocon, like Ocon could have some value for an Audi side if he gets the boot from Haas for some reason.
Yeah.
So as they have Bortoleto, they need somebody to be second. Honestly, either as much as we've said no change for Cadillac, say the season progresses very favorably for either Bottas or Perez, then one of them could move to Audi. Bottas has already been there with Sauber. It could be one of those where like they just kind of pluck them out and they're like, Perez, you're exactly the kind of driver we want next to Bortoleto, so let's put you in Sauber. As Perez has also been there when they were Sauber.
I mean, if you're talking about Nico no longer being a guaranteed point scorer, I don't think the Cadillac drivers will be able to show that either of them are guaranteed point scorers.
Fair. Yeah, fair. Then you might as well keep Hulkenberg, to be honest. But yeah, no, I think it's a good destination for any midfield driver to have. While Bortoleto is still as a kind of a stopgap, while Bortoleto is still improving.
Developing,
Then you can go for, I don't know if there is an Audi junior team anymore.
There is the one junior that is really exciting for Audi right now is Freddie Slater down in F3. He's been the most talked about prospect after Kimi and Antonelli for quite a few years, and Audi managed to sign him on. I think if they keep Hulkenberg on, that's with the view of in 2027 after Freddie has had his F2 season, we just bring him into F1.
That's fair. And then you could fill the gap with fucking anybody. Put in Ocon, put in Tsunoda, put in like a Bottas or a Perez if you really want to. Put in or just keep Hulkenberg. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't make any huge. Yeah. Let's just say that. Hulkenberg stays on for 27, Slater for 28.
Cool. We'll do that, and that will wrap up the Rostermania. We'll come back to this. I'll make a note of all the drivers that we picked, and we'll see how wrong we were in every single decision that we made.
Yeah.
One final topic before we close out the show. The Turkish Grand Prix is back on the calendar in breaking-ish news. 2027 to 2032, the track will be on the calendar regularly. Quacke, you've seen a few Turkish Grand Prix in your time. What do you make of it?
I like them. I thought it was a fun track. We had some good racing especially in 21. All in all, it's a fun destination to be in. There's definitely worse tracks we could have been in if we were adding another Grand Prix. And yeah, it's just kind of been sitting there. Like we could just go back, and now that's what we're doing. That's great. I don't have like particular memories pertaining to the track in neither 2020 nor 2021. More so that the events unfolding there were quite interesting. We had a very rainy qualifying where Stroll managed to grab a pole.
In first and only pole, yeah.
Yeah, in 2020. And we had Lewis Hamilton clinching the championship there as well in 2020, I believe. And in 2021, we had a great little battle there between Hamilton and Perez. Also a rainy race, I think. Where it was one of those that we had in 2020 and 2021 a lot, where you put on inters and then as the track was drying up, they would wear down into slicks basically as the tread wore off. So you were doing like 45 laps on the same set of inters because they just turned into slicks. But yeah, I like the track. It's not. I don't dislike the track. I think it has interesting corners, and as far as a track goes, then I think that's about as good as it gets.
I think that's where we'll call this episode. The Turkish Grand Prix is our exciting milestone to look forward to in the far future, but in the near future, we've got Miami coming up. Hopefully, we'll get another episode recorded before then to actually give you a full preview of the race.
Yep.
And until then, this has been Out on Inters. See you later. Bye bye.